give the student, as it passed the 9 o'clock hour, instead of breaking, the opportunity, and so far I see he's still here, and I appreciate it, but I think his jacket's going on. But I also needed to make sure he had the requisite signature, at least for his teachers. So one of the things I think Ms. Cunningham has said is, no matter what, we're trying to be everything to everyone, and it's at that point that it's very difficult to be everything to everyone. I take it personal, and I don't, how would you say, I don't like disappointing people, but I don't know much else of what we can do when over the past time that I've been a superintendent in 6 years, there's been nothing but disappointment in the dissemination of the public education system. I think Bethlehem has probably handled it better than most, but still it comes with a lot of pain. One of the things that inspires me, and I think I've been one of the only superintendents to attend the lab school functions, to go out, and I'm amazed by the work that they do, but I'm also amazed by the work that every single one of our teachers do. They all donate time, even though I know it's not really a donation to them because it is their way of life. It's what I committed myself, and it's what teachers commit themselves to, and that's the education of our youth and the education of our future society. And I commend everybody for that, and I commend the parents that stick to the driving that home. That is the biggest thing. We are here for our future generations, whether we admit it or not. We believe in trying to better our future generations for the kids that are here, and I wish I could offer everything. When we look back at the lab school started over 21 years ago, and it was the foundations of it was built within a core group of teachers that wanted to be, as Dr. Woodgesinger said, be a little bold and be a little brave. Well, what happens is over time, everything evolves, everything adapts, everything adjusts, everything has to recognize the new realities around it. That if we go back to that core mission, we look at that we take some of the lab teachers, but also at that same time, those people being bold and brave also worked with the core staff of the high school and the administration of the high school and some parents, both inside of the potential dynamics of the future lab school and outside the future dynamics. And as we look at it, pose some of the things that unfortunately we cannot have direct conversations with parents in regards to staffing, contractual matters, and so forth. We have to understand those bounds. And as a superintendent, I can recommend to charge a committee to look at how we best adjust to the new situation. I've had conversations with the teachers unit president, Mr. David Rounds. I've had conversations with our assistant superintendent of curriculum, who I have the absolute most trust for. We have reviewed the majority of the paperwork and the foundations of lab school. And it would be very surprising when it comes to budget what the actual intention was. And that I will leave to the committee, because I think people would be surprised to know that lab school would be the first impacted in any financial calamity. This Board of Education, every Board of Education, has tried to mitigate it so no one bared the brunt. In order to head forward and have some of those discussions, we will need to re-envision of how we deal with the current fiscal climate as well as the current academic needs to make it so that we can try to have the benefit of all potential programs, and that no one is above each other, but no one is below each other. And if the board is willing, I will start that process, and eventually, as we go through, we do not know how we're going to be able to handle enrollment, because for another 2 months, it's in a state of flux. But what the board is committing to is a budget, and I must have that come April 22nd. Whatever happens with that budget, we have to fit within that budget how we fit. There could be room in the schedule because we may not be able to run others. We don't know. But until we get that report, we can't make those determinations. I know that would be what I believe is the best process to move forward for the board, to do a full evaluation, as well as possible look at the things of how we do business to try to gain as much of the understanding to meet the needs that you've heard tonight from the parents. I know the needs that I'm sure we could hear from the teachers that we can't necessarily share because we can't identify people. And we also cannot put them on the spot to be able to share differences of opinions in this type of a public format. So therefore, if the board's willing, I will reach out to the BCU BCTA, as well as the supervisors, the BPA, Jody, and then we will select and bring back to you a process of starting those discussions. Is the board in consensus with that?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah,
Thank you.
I believe, this board and previous boards that I have been on every year, we are constituted as a new board on July 1, that all the previous boards have been very supportive of the lab school, and I've been to several functions that they've had, and it is a tremendous program. You hear great things from the students that graduate from there, and, we want to work to get it to be able to maintain the level it's at. I guess Chinese?
Chinese.
Who would like to start with Chinese? Diane?
I think, I do remember sitting here last year when we were talking about phasing out or cutting, was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, my
Wow.
first year, yeah.
Okay. And we did, at that time, make a commitment, to the Chinese program. And at that time, and I know that we have so many issues with, trying to keep teachers and enroll, well, not even so much enrollment, but just really finding, teachers that stay with us. I don't know if there's a way, I do think, unfortunately, we've talked about no other suburban council district has been able to keep Chinese also, and we've looked at that. I know you researched everything, but if there is a way to piece it together for those 7th and 8th graders, if we could figure out a way to do that, I would like to see that. The other thing I just wanted to state, also, just to clarify, if that can't be done, but the kids who are in Chinese now would take the Spanish in 1 year. I know that students sometimes don't take a language 6th, 7th, and 8th grade because they're, have the AIS or the math.
6th and 7th grade.
And then they usually can do that
In 1 year.
Spanish in 1 year,
So
correct?
we have some students who don't take it in 6th and 7th grade for a variety of reasons. We also have students who transfer in. The requirement in New York State is only 1 year of language in middle school with the proficiency as an exit exam. So obviously, we're well over the requirements beginning in 6th grade. So with the students who have been in Chinese, they've actually learned how to acquire a language. They're good language students. We have no concern that they would not be able to learn Spanish. They can go into French, and we would support them with options or enrichment to be able to catch up as well. But the feeling that we have a lot more students, obviously, who select Spanish, so feeling that that would be where most of the students would choose to go. But we don't have concerns that they would not be able to
Right.
catch up and be with their same age peers within that time frame, particularly if they're grouped together. It makes it a little easier where we have students who come in just at random, they get assigned a lot of times to a class that's heterogeneous, or sometimes we do have that one grouping they could go into. But our students do very well. They do well in the proficiency, and they're able to continue on with the language program, whatever they choose in the high school.
But I guess, in my mind, I would love to see at least to phase out and let those 7th, 8th graders continue, because I do remember saying that we were committed to it when we kept it.
And
And when we weren't gonna cut it, we put it back in. So
Right.
it's kind of hard to,
sure.
so we
And-
can be done.
It's good. Dr. Bell and I have talked about that. We would look to try and see what we can do, but the reality is it will not be a full-time position, and we've had a challenge, which is why we haven't been able to expand the
Right.
program into high school for, enrollment and the inability to find part-time teachers. It's very hard to even find a full-time teacher. So so we're trying to, I guess, plan for the most appropriate, what we can at this time. So I'd like to say yes, we can absolutely do that, but I'm not confident that we can.
Jody, what are the current enrollments in those classes?
I think the 9th and 10th graders next year are around 15. apiece. Do you know what the incoming eighth graders would be next year?
Eighth grade will be a little higher, maybe 20 to 22.
Yep.
Ninth grade will be 15.
15,
I'm sorry, 10th grade is, next year's 10th grade is
15, yeah, so,
they started as a group of about 25, but
Yep.
there's been some attrition.
right.
And that group will do like an online type thing,
Look-
or the distance learning?
Well, we're looking at a few different options. There's an online option, there's a distance learning option. We are looking with a local school district to see if we can partner with them somehow. So I hopefully will have a little more information by the next board meeting as to a more defined course of action that we could follow.
I know that 2 years ago it was cut. I think everyone went on vacation, and I called her up and said, we made a mistake. And I think a lot of board members, everyone joined the conversation on how valuable it was to keep in the district. So I would love to see it stay. However, I am, from all the briefings that Ms. Monroe has given us, I'm very aware it's not an issue of intent or commitment. It's an issue of staffing. And that's about all I can say about that. What I would like to do, as just a single board member, is to ask you that you have 2 weeks. And seriously, come back with any other thing that, I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I saw the slide. You have 2 weeks.
That's all we have left.
Beat every
Write that down.
bush, make every contact, and come back with anything else that you could, because the budget is, we have to adopt the budget, and that budget drives everything. 2 weeks, come back with anything else you've uncovered.
Well, don't forget, we didn't really account for the Chinese as a savings in the budget.
Okay,
Chinese
right,
So,
right.
it's
No,
not-
it's not part of the
Right,
budget.
but
No,
just,
it's
okay,
It's not a budget.
okay, so it's
So
not a budgetary issue, but
sustainability
then,
of the
but
program.
people have to know for
No,
the
no,
kids.
no,
right, for
I'm
the
not
schedule.
saying that, but it's not,
Okay,
it's not in there as a
budget implications.
budget.
But people have to know for the kids, so the kids know what they're doing, and we kind of resolve that whole thing. If possible, in 2 weeks, come back with any alternate, option you'd be able to come up with. So that's all I can ask you to do, I mean,
Sure.
so, that's what I
Yeah,
would.
I have a problem. We committed to it. You guys didn't do anything wrong.
No,
It has nothing to do with the students. The enrollment went down because of the wavering of the program, there's no question about that. I would be skittish to sign up for it too. And you guys should probably be commended for pushing through and fighting for it and stuff, because a lot of people were scared and didn't do it and would have done it if, we'd been able to support it. So I think they're gonna work to try to get you guys through. I do, okay? It's not a money issue, and it's not anything with the students, okay? It's a lot of just adult crap, honestly, okay? So, you guys had, I can't say anything else. So, so you guys gotta know and fight for your program and fight and keep studying it hard, and then don't give up,
And come back next week.
okay? And don't give up.
Next week is vacation.
Come back in 2 weeks.
Don't come
and
back on
ask-
vacation.
No, I wasn't here to make the tough decision, or not, but, I'll tell you, I mean, the students really spoke so compellingly about it. I totally am where Diane is, is there a way we can sort of cobble something together, be creative, figure out something, and kind of help, really kind of, and I appreciate the distinction between phasing it out or eliminating it, and I think one of the presenters kind of talked about that, and you know what, that's a legitimate issue, and I think that's valid. The one final thing I would say is, and this is in the spirit of kind of self-reflection of when you make these hard decisions, sometimes the communication is so critical. And I just think, that was kind of a theme tonight, and I think we can always go back and kind of look at what we did and say, how could I do this? How should I have done this a little bit better? And maybe there's some merit in, especially the Chinese, the letter and then the meeting or whatever. But, and I think that's a worthy thing for not just the board and the administration, that's a life lesson. You get some feedback, and You know, there's something behind that that is meritorious. Take it, learn from it, do it better next time. So I guess I would encourage the district to think about those comments and also going forward, because I'm sure that's not the last tough decision that is coming down the pike, so.
I'm in favor as well of trying to find a way to let the middle schoolers continue with the Chinese. But I do want to make sure that we're not just going to cobble something together. I want to make sure that it's a quality program, that it will be
Yeah, it goes without
educational
saying.
for them, and that we're not going to be offering something that's substandard, because Bethlehem doesn't do substandard. And so we want to make sure that if we do it, that we're going to do it right.
And I would agree with that, and we do it through the continuation of their high school career. We can't be here next year with the same argument again. We need to find a solution, if we can, to transition the program out.
And unfortunately, you know, and I know Chinese would be a great program to keep, you know, if we could, and we had millions of people applying for the job, and maybe down the road, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, we can try to implement that again. So I don't remember which of the students have a sibling that's younger, so you better take notes. So, you know, but to make sure that's clear for the incoming sixth graders too.
Yeah.
Just like make it, can I just make a general comment? Because I think sometimes people talk about administrators like they're not worth anything. And I hope people realize through the discussion that these folks all work for the district, they work for the teachers, they work for the students, but they work for us. And you'll notice how many times I will turn, or any of us will turn and say, I want this. You got 2 weeks. Wasn't I just writing you 2 weeks ago about the class size? They answer to us. And so just to appreciate, I want to publicly appreciate that when sometimes in budget companies, they say, why do you need all these administrators? Because they're working on one side to run the program and supervise people and do the budgets and all the rest, but they're answering to us. And we are the community representatives who ask them the question. You are accountable to us. We expect you to be accountable. We give you tight timelines. And from my perspective, you've always delivered the information that I've asked for, regardless of how short of a time period I have given you.
And we appreciate that recognition, because on behalf of the administration, it's never, how would you say, although we work for you, it's a dialogue, and it's always a collaboration no matter what. And we serve the community, but most importantly, I serve the board. So thank you.
All right. We'll continue the rest of the meeting, which is going to be very short. Item number 7, 8, 9, and 10 have no items. We've already recognized, anyone could have spoken all they wanted, so we recognize the visitors. Item number 12, future meetings. I do want to say some things about there. As we've stated tonight, the budget adoption will be on Tuesday, April 22nd. By law, we have to adopt a budget that night. We will be getting some additional information and having some further discussions on that night. Tuesday, May 6th, there's a Meet the Candidates night. There are 3 open seats up for election this year. I would encourage anybody and everybody to run for the board. And the petitions are due by April 21st. You need to see
Brittany Barrett.
Brittany Barrett, either, I don't know if she could access the petition tonight, or any time during business hours to pick up the petition from her. It requires 77 signatures. And then the election will be held, May 7th is our formal budget hearing, and then May 20th is the election and the vote on the school budget and also the library budget. There is no need for us to go into executive session. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
That's a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming.